her decision announcing her absolute determination to go back to Bangladesh somewhere between now and December has rattled the government in Bangladesh. But the determination of the state to prevent it by all means indicates their nervousness. Important point is that ever since the Reuters interview, there are calls from all over the world, including from London and others, calling for reconciliation. But very quickly, within a few days of Sheikh Hasina being forced to leave the country and the Jamaat-e-Islami taking full charge with Mohammed Yunus as their spokesperson, the meticulous design became evident. Prospect of political strike is definitely there. I certainly hope there will be a build-up of international support between now and whenever she decides to return. What's happening in Bangladesh is very, very worrisome. And it is a serious threat not only for India, but for stability in the entire region, and I would say even beyond the region.
Namaskar. This is Pratim Ranjan Bose, and you are watching Podcast with Pratim. I have with me former Indian High Commissioner to Dhaka, Madam Veena Sikri. Welcome to the show, Madam.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Of course, that means we are going to discuss Bangladesh. And Madam, the hot topic is in Bangladesh and also worldwide as it is coming up in global media is, do you think Hasina will return by December?
Well, I think her recent interview to Reuters stated quite categorically that yes, she's going to return no matter what is the cost. She stated that herself. And I think that once she has stated it in that absolutely unequivocal manner, it is very difficult for her to go back. And I don't think she will go back on that because I don't think she is a person who goes back easily on her word. And I can see that her decision announcing her absolute determination to go back to Bangladesh somewhere between now and December has rattled the government in Bangladesh. It has made them a little more than a little nervous, I would say. And we saw recently when there was the 77th founding day of the Awami League, the government there was so nervous that they called in the BGB, they called in the army, they called in the police just to make sure that, nothing happens and that there is no, even then some few demonstrations, some few rallies did take place, very small, but the determination of the state to prevent it by all means indicates their nervousness. And then we have seen statements by, the former prosecutor of the Tajul Islam, the former prosecutor of the International Crimes Tribunal. I mean, he was actually the defender during Sheikh Hasina's time when she set up the ICT.
Even a minister spoke out, Shama.
And now that after being prosecutor, why? Because he is responsible for the very shabby trial that was given when Sheikh Hasina's case was heard or brought before the ICT. By any international standards, the trial was very shabby. There was no defense lawyer, a very unknown person was given as defense lawyer. He didn't do anything. He just sat there. And so it was a very quick trial and they've given her the death sentence. So now that Sheikh Hasina has said that she is determined to go back and surrender in the court, so what will the government there do? Will they allow her to reach the court and surrender? And there's a very interesting point I'd like to say. Very recently in Dhaka, there is a Jamaat-e-Islami leader, Abul Kalam Azad, I think his name is.
Right.
And 14 years ago, in 2013, he was actually sentenced by the International Crimes Tribunal when Sheikh Hasina was Prime Minister, and he was sentenced to death for his role in the Liberation War of 1971, for his crimes against humanity in the Liberation War of 1971. But for 13 years, this person had absconded and he was not there. Today, recently, a few days ago, he turned up in Dhaka, went to the court and surrendered, and he was allowed to go free.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And he was absolutely allowed to go free. All right, that's okay. The same thing can be done with Sheikh Hasina. So I think the important point is that ever since the Reuters interview, there are calls from all over the world, including from London and others, calling for reconciliation. They are calling for reconciliation, saying this is a very good moment that Sheikh Hasina has determined to go back and there should be reconciliation. Actually, the whole world, people in Bangladesh and the rest of the world are tremendously unhappy with the lack of democracy in Bangladesh. Even the action they have taken to ban the Awami League by an executive order. I mean, that itself shows how nervous they are. Because why should you ban? If a party is unpopular, the people will not vote for them.
Yeah,
And
it was absolutely, in a way hilarious also. One way you were saying that, right, imagine situation after 2000, July 2024.
yeah,
So Awami League was barely there and the popularity was so down, historic
yes,
low.
yes.
And then you had to ban it.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
Actually, that's what I want to say also, that it is quite amazing that the so-called students' revolt, when they had it, it wasn't really a student revolt at all. But at that time, they whipped up this anti-Indianism also, and associating Sheikh Hasina with this anti-Indian, frenzy that they were trying to whip up. And you're absolutely right. At a time when she had such a strong anti-incumbency feeling against her among the people, if elections had been held within 6 weeks or 8 weeks, I mean, one doesn't know how the vote would have gone. But seeing how the Jamaat-e-Islami,
Even within 6 months or
yeah,
7 months, 1 year, I don't think Awami League would have got to more than some a few percentage of votes.
no, I think that very quickly what happened was that when the people, it became clear to the people that this was not a students' uprising. I think that was the first disappointment among the people, because everybody, even the parents of students, everybody came on the streets in the first few days thinking, yes, yes, this is a genuine students' uprising and we're going to get, our place in the sun, we're going to get students' right, this is going to be real democracy and so on. But very quickly, within a few days of Sheikh Hasina being forced to leave the country and the Jamaat-e-Islami taking full charge with Mohammed Yunus as their spokesperson, the meticulous design became evident. And that was for the Jamaat-e-Islami to remain in charge.
Yunus himself told the world that there was a meticulous design.
Yeah, exactly. Yunus told the world. But the Awami League made it clear that they were not interested in elections and they wanted to stay on. They talked about reforms, 4 years, this and that. That was the first disappointment for the people of Bangladesh. And the students who had come on the street in support, thinking this is a genuine student uprising, went back to the universities completely disappointed, and we didn't see them again. We didn't see them. They were not in the NCP. The NCP has no students. They're all Jamaat-e-Islami people. They're, Chhatra Shabir people and others who are there. They're not genuine students. They're not the
Even if
people.
you look at the original Students Against Discrimination Forum,
Mhm.
so remember that lady, I forget her name, she was quite vocal, right?
Mhm.
And then she fell out. She did not join the NCP. She fell out. And today she is absolutely absent from the whole political spectrum.
Absolutely. That's a classic example. Her case, I remember that, where she really was genuinely convinced that, yes, this is a student
Yeah,
uprising.
yeah, one of the most prominent and vocal
Yes.
and visible leaders.
Yes. And then she was disappointed. A, she realized it's not student uprising. B, she realized that Jamaat-e-Islami. And C, she realized that Jamaat-e-Islami is anti-women. And that the rights of women were the first casualty in the 18 months of the Jamaat-e-Islami before BNP won the election. In fact, it is my theory that it's the BNP won the election mainly on the women's vote. There were other factors also, that some of Awami League voted and maybe some of the minorities also voted.
Hindus voted.
Yes, but the bulk vote, when you talk about 50% of the population, definitely was the women's vote. They were so disappointed. They were not allowed to go to work on their own. Where is your escort? They were not allowed to wear a teep. They had no safety, no security. Women were being attacked and molested, and it was terrible. So I think that this was a big. And now, when we see the forces of radicalization rising, continuing to rise in Bangladesh, we are seeing that the attempts to radicalize women is becoming sharper and sharper in Bangladesh. And this is something, again, which the vast majority of the women are very worried about. And they are determined not to vote for the Jamaat-e-Islami. So I think that, coming back to your question about Sheikh Hasina, that it's a political decision. B, it is a decision in keeping with the role that Awami League has always played in the forefront of the freedom struggle. And today, I think the freedom struggle in Bangladesh has to be against radicalization, against the economic downturn, because there's no economic democracy at all. And the smaller companies.
Economy is going down and down.
Yeah. So the people who had seen under 15 years of Sheikh Hasina, the economy growing at 6%, 7% every year, and they were so sure of their jobs. And Bangladesh had become the second largest exporter of ready-made garments. Bangladesh is going to graduate out of the LSE status. It's supposed to. I don't know whether they'll do it now by the end of this year. So now
I think they applied for postponement.
Okay.
Which is a wise thing to do at this juncture.
Yeah. So all these factors have come together to highlight the efforts of the Jamaat-e-Islami to rule by diktat, to rule by radicalization, to rule by control. And we saw this demonstration in Bangladesh a couple of weeks ago with the black flags, all the radical flags of the world, the ISIS, the Al-Qaeda, the
Hamas.
Yes, the Hamas, the Jamaat-ul-Dawa, the Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, all of them. I mean, there was something like people estimated at that time about 15 lakhs.
Someone was telling me that he has never seen so many flags of these terrorist organizations before.
Yes. So, it shows how that Jamaat-e-Islami thinks that by demonstration of strength, they can control the people. I think that's a mistake because that didn't work in 1971. I don't think it's going to work now. And B, it shows the presence. This is the Pakistan hand in operating, in full-blow operation in Bangladesh. It is as if Bangladesh has been handed over to them on a platter. This is one of the most worrisome parts.
Yeah, here I would like to interject is that, Madam, I fully appreciate what you are saying and I fully endorse. But here comes a political reality. The moment you bring in Hasina into this system, into this framework, so naturally, don't you expect that BNP, Jamaat, and all these guys will go together? And that side, and it is going to be Awami League versus the rest. Isn't that going to be a situation?
The prospect of political strike is definitely there. Definitely, what you say is right. And certainly, they will not allow, they don't want the Awami League to come back. But I think the debate in Bangladesh today is the Awami League is already back. I saw again in the Bangladesh media statements by NCP leaders blaming the BNP government for allowing the Awami League back in. Meaning, although they're still banned by an executive order, but still the Awami League surge of support is such. While, there's, for example, I can give two examples. Recently, there were two Awami League leaders who passed away. One was Tufail Ahmed, a very, long-term.
Right, a very, very senior leader, yes.
Yeah, right from 1971. And before, he was a student leader, even the 6-point program. He had a very big role.
I think, if I'm not wrong, that he is the man who gave the title Bangabandhu.
Yes, absolutely. And greatly respected by Bangabandhu. And in her first 2 terms after 2009 by Sheikh Hasina as well. But then she pushed away all these people at one point. But the point is that when he passed away, the government of the day, BNP government, was too scared to allow any of the janazas to be held in Dhaka. So they told them, no, you can't, you go to Bhola, which is the hometown of Tufail Ahmed. And there people turned out in the lakhs. I mean, it was incredible to see the demonstration of support. The police could do nothing and very quietly melted away because they could nothing to stop it. Similarly, in Chittagong, when engineer Musharraf Hussain, another very well-known Awami League leader, when he passed away, again, hundreds and thousands, in the lakhs, the people were on the street. The police could do nothing. They just melted away.
And so you believe that the popular pressure will sort of act as a deterrent to this Islamic force. I mean, the Awami League, when it is Awami League versus the rest, that kind of a situation. So you are expecting the balance to tilt in favor of Awami League?
No, it's very difficult to predict. It's very difficult to predict because how the situation will come out. We all know the great tragedy of what happened to Benazir Bhutto when she tried to return to Pakistan and what happened to her within hours.
Do you expect bloodshed if Hasina returns to Bangladesh?
Well, if the police and the army and the BJP is brought out on the streets as they did a few days ago for the 77th founding day of the Awami League, Who knows what will happen? And also, I think that, there is the question of organization. There's the question of the Awami League's presence in Bangladesh. Is it organized? How do you bring it together? There's so many political issues which I'm sure the Awami League is thinking about. But basically, I think I would like to put it not even Awami League as a political party or a BNP and Jamaat-e-Islami as political parties. I'm putting it more in the context of the popular feeling.
I
Is
agree
it
with you. I agree with you fully.
Yeah, yeah.
Now here is a question, madam. Is that assume Hasina goes. What we saw in last 2 years, and Bangladesh has a long history of it, prison killing and etc. Right. Unlike in Pakistan, well, Pakistan also saw two sides of it. Ziaul Haq hanged Bhutto.
Yeah.
Then Ziaul Haq was died in very questionable circumstances. But forget about Benjir Bhutto. So she was killed. Now, in Bangladesh, we saw more of the other side of the story, that is the jail killings and all these things that we are seeing from 1975.
Yes.
And in last 2 years, it was at its peak. So you just, in the name of mob, you can do anything.
Yes, yes.
So assume Hasina goes back. And if you remember, if you have noted the Tajul's statement, he said that people will go to the border and they will do the dafan over there only. It means using extra constitutional forces to kill her. Eliminate.
I mean, it's amazing that they're making a public declaration of this, right now. I mean, it shows that it's an example of extreme nervousness, where within hours of Sheikh Hasina's interview to Reuters, a person like Tajul Islam comes on and says this, and he's been the prosecutor and he's the one who sentenced her to death,
So what if? So if Hasina goes, shouldn't there be such a situation where these elements will try to kill her over there only?
Look, I think that...
what is the assurance that Hasina has? The question I'm trying to ask is that when Hasina is planning her return, so there has to be some assurance that these kind of things are not going to happen there.
I certainly hope there will be. And I think if Bangladesh values its own democratic society, and I think the people do, I do not know whether the rulers of the day do, but the people certainly do, then I think even globally, like I told you, there was an article even by a well-known analyst from SOAS in London recently in the media saying, look, this is the time for reconciliation. Don't have any more violence. And I think, again, I come back to the public feeling that they're fed up of violence. They're fed up that the media is completely controlled.
Let me ask you a more precise question that Bangladeshis and the world may be looking at is whether she will get the international support.
I certainly hope there will be a build-up of international support between now and whenever she decides to return. I think there's a high time the world community played its focus on Bangladesh and looked at what's happening there, because what's happening in Bangladesh is very, very worrisome. And it is a serious threat not only for India, but for stability in the entire region, and I would say even beyond the region. Because to have a society or a political structure which is controlled by the radical organizations, and that's really what Jamaat-e-Islami is,